Well, hello, race fans, a new edition of our EKN Debrief set to go, episode 125. It is Wednesday, February the 14th, 2024. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. This is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole, as we are now midweek through having been down at the AMR Homestead Miami Motorplex presented by MG Tires for the final two rounds of the 2024 Superkarts USA Winter Series. AMR2, as we call it. I'll bring David here in a couple of seconds. We'll get rolling here for our debrief of the SCUSA Winter Series finale. This show presented by Sodi Racing USA. It's a multi-time world champion, and it's a SCUSA Super Nationals winner. It is Superkart. And starting in 2023, the Sodi brand found a new home here in the United States. Sodi Racing USA is the new exclusive importer of the Sodi chassis line under the karting distribution banner. The French manufacturer Superkart is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. The Sodi Racing chassis line offers product in classes from mini karts to KZ, all based on years of development and championship seasons around the world. Visit Sodi-Racing-USA.com to learn more about the Sodi Racing chassis or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the Sodi Racing USA network today. Superkart, the world leader in karting industry. All right, David, let's jump into this thing here. This past weekend, February 9th to the 11th, we were down in Homestead, Florida. I already mentioned AMR Homestead Miami Motorplex presented by MG Tires. The final two rounds 3 and 4 of the 4-round Superkarts USA Winter Series Championship. They take the best of three, and Championship Sunday was actually pretty exciting.
It was, and the whole weekend was pretty exciting. You know, good racing on Saturday, warm weather, pretty, picture perfect, both Friday and Saturday. And then Sunday, we knew it was going to hit, and it did. It came just as the K100 Junior main event was about halfway through. Just a shower. So nothing heavy, nothing too crazy, but really certainly dampened the racetrack, and K100 Junior drivers handled the wet racetrack on dry tires very well. But that kind of sent the paddock into a frenzy, getting rain setups, rain tires, all that other stuff for the other categories until it dried out about halfway through the rotation. And then we went back to dry weather racing. So all in all, it was a pretty good weekend of racing. Nothing really stood out in terms of anything bad.
It was aggressive, but
yeah. I mean, you're going to get that. It's the finale weekend of a series. Really, I think only, more the X30 senior, maybe a little bit in K senior as well, too. We're probably the only rough categories. All the rest, the junior drivers drove very well. Nothing too crazy there. We're in the cadet divisions as well, too.
Let's just circle back around again. Yeah, perfect weather on Friday and Saturday, essentially sunny and 75 at one point. It was just absolutely beautiful. We had some clouds in the morning like we normally do, but it kind of burned off, and we had the beautiful blue skies. I do want to bring this up, though, Dave, because you're 3 for 3 now, right? I want to put a little bit of the responsibility and all this to you, because the rain came, and you are now 3 for 3 on rain, which, considering the fact that some of it came in Tucson, Arizona, makes the streak very impressive.
Well, especially if it continues after our next event, which will be in Tucson again. So if it rains there and I go 4 for 4, I'm going for a perfect score on the season. So
you are 100%, man. You got to bat for the cycle,
because that's going to be the race that it doesn't rain.
True.
All the rest of them more than likely have a chance of rain. But when you think Tucson, you don't think rain. So that's going to be the race where that'll either continue the streak or end it completely.
That's true. So I will say this, and again, yes, as David mentioned, the rain did come right in the middle of the KA100 Junior class, and David mentioned it. I was super impressed with all the drivers. Yeah, not surprising when that rain first hits, and it kind of hit in a different part of the track, right? It hit kind of like over in turn 9, but not in turn 1 as it was kind of coming through a bit. Yeah, some drivers went off, surprised by the lack of grip, obviously, as the rain hit. But then right afterwards, David, they all kind of settled in. And I was super impressed with the way they handled the second. It wasn't even the last couple laps. It was the second half of a long 22-lap main event, and they did a tremendous job. You see them throwing the thing around. They were sliding it. They were rolling on the throttle. I was really happy with the way those juniors really took to it and kind of came to the forefront.
Yeah, I don't know what it is that it was kind of a shock, really, to be honest. It was shocking because you're expecting to see, drivers go off. Luckily there's not too many walls. I think really the only hard part would be coming onto the main straightaway, the last couple of corners.
Yeah, 11
and we did see a couple of drivers get into the wall there, but other than that, you have plenty of runoff room. So if you do happen to make a mistake, you're not completely dead in the water. Get it?
Yeah, good one.
But
dadjoke.com.
It is, dadjoke.com. It was impressive, especially the front of the field, but then to see drivers, go off the racetrack, but then come right back and fight their way forward to try and get those positions they gained. So we'll get more into that with the K100 Junior kind of recap, but it was very impressive. Minnie did a great job in the wet. K100 Senior, it's K100 Senior. And then in Micro Swift did well as well too.
Yeah, then the K100 Masters is when it all stopped. The majority of the drivers went on dries, and you could see like that little kind of 5 minute kind of gap between the end of one race and the start of the other race. The track really dried up. I think a handful of drivers went on wets to try to take advantage of that. Maybe it was going to stay wet. They were off. They all retired, and it ended up being. And we'll talk again about it once we get to the category. Let's go by the numbers, Dave. The first round was massive, record-setting numbers of 291. Kind of caught everybody off guard. This second round actually better than a normal second event, right? Normally we'll see 230, 240 at the first one and maybe 200, 210 maybe at the second one. We ended up having 230 entries. There was a number of walk-ups, so 230 total entries. Micro Swift was actually pretty good, only down to 38. We saw some drops all the way through it, but there were still big numbers. Like, KA100 Junior had 51. Yeah, we had 63 in January, but 51 drivers. They ran them all in the main event. Same goes for KA100 Senior, 40 the first round and 39 in round number 2.
Yeah, you have like 4 or 5 that had very minimal loss, or if any at all. Yeah. As you said, K100 Senior only losing one driver or one number. So all in all, good 230. I think that was close to the previous record. I want to say maybe it was 250 last year. I can't remember exactly where it was. I should have looked that up. But again, still solid numbers, 230 total entries for an event featuring 9 categories. And of course, Master Shifter, we're only talking about one driver. So really 8 classes when you look at it as a whole, solid numbers. And again, nothing really stands out. It was good to see the stabilization of X30 Junior at 27, because that's a category where we saw a big drop off last year once we got done with the winter programs. So that's going to be one to watch, when we get to the winter nationals next month, and other programs throughout the season. So that's going to be a one to watch. We know we're going to expect to see big numbers in KA categories. In the KA Master, we had just a lot of the international drivers not returned, so that's kind of the dip off there. So
and half the Alessandro's team, they're the sponsor of the class, and only
that's what I said. The international, they're all international drivers.
Yeah.
So
where are they? What happened?
Well, only 1 or 2 showed up actually. So, but yeah, it's that's kind of what you get with the Florida program. You get some weekends really strong, some weekends normal, some weekends could be bad. Well, really not so much bad, because a lot of people do like going to Florida. We never really had a bad weekend at Ocala. We've never really had bad events in Daytona for WKA. So, again, solid numbers to begin the year. It's great to start off with the record-setting numbers we had last month. And of course, you're not going to continue that. So again, over the 200 mark, that's where you want to be. That's where you want to stay consistent. It's just a matter of what do they do shifter-wise, Winter Series next year. That's a whole nother topic. We continue to talk about that every year, it seems like. But
we do.
They keep pushing along. So if drivers keep showing up, they'll keep having the category.
That's true. All right, folks, first break in the action. When we get back, we'll dive into the Paddock Pass. A bunch of stuff to talk to you about, obviously very new to the season. And, of course, one of the big things we'll talk about in this segment was the fact that we had the new MG tires as well. David's got a bunch of information to go through. When we get back after this break, we'll go into the Paddock Pass. Is IndyCar your dream? If it is, for 2024 and beyond, the path from karting to IndyCar has gotten even clearer. It's time to look into the new USF Juniors program and the Tatis JR23. As the first step of the USF Pro Championships presented by Continental Tires, the USF Junior Series will feature a 6-event, 13-race schedule to train racers for the move into the USF 2000 Championship presented by Continental Tires. 3 of the events in 2024 will run alongside IndyCar at Mid-Ohio, Road America, and Portland. The champion will win a scholarship worth over $263,000, and there's a total prize fund that will exceed $330,000. The series utilizes the state-of-the-art Tatis JR23 race car, which is a development version of the USF 22 used in USF 2000. It's the ideal entry point for career-minded karters moving into the car racing ladder. Safety is always front and center in the minds of the series promoters, and the new USF Juniors car also features the Halo, and races are supported by members of the AMR IndyCar safety team. If IndyCar is your goal, USF Juniors is the starting line. For more information, visit www.usfjuniors.com and follow USF Juniors on social media. Ready to step up your game? Joining the Rawlison Performance Group is the obvious choice to take your racing to the next level. Industry-leading driver development is provided by our staff of multi-time national champions, Super Nationals winners, and Team USA members. And at the same time, RPG continues to be a national-level powerhouse race team. Our goal is to help you raise your game and win races. We work with all age groups and are focused on developing those cadet and junior drivers who are ready to take the next step in their racing program. Rawlison Performance Group has set a new standard with our in-house engine program, AVP Engines, headed by Alex Vincent. AVP has become the benchmark in IAME competition. We have the largest OTK inventory that follows our race team, providing trackside parts at all the major events in North America. RPG also offers multilingual support with French, Spanish, and Portuguese-speaking staff. If you want to fight for championships or want to improve your skills and your chances to win, the answer is to call RPG at 503-260-4514. The Rawlison Performance Group. We race to win. Made in the USA. That's exactly what you get from Precision Karting Technologies. Based in Detroit, Michigan, PKT brings over 35 years of manufacturing experience to the sport of karting. Their passion for the sport began focusing around the Kid Kart platform and has expanded every year with hundreds of products designed to put you on the podium. Precision Karting Technologies is known around North America for their successful line of axles, available in all age groups. PKT manufactures a number of engine products for Comer, IAME, Rock, Rotax, and the popular Briggs & Stratton 206. A wide variety of chassis components for the many brands in the sport are available through PKT, including hubs, pedal risers, skid plates, and other hardware for your kart. Axle straightening, chassis adjustments, engine service, and specific CNC machining projects are available through their Motor City headquarters. To learn more about the many products and services available from Precision Karting Technologies, head to pktaxles.com. Welcome back to episode 125 of the EKN Debrief as we're diving into the Superkarts USA Winter Series finale, AMR2, which happened last weekend at Homestead Miami Speedway and the Motorplex there, the kart track. We'll go into the Paddock Pass presented today by Margay Racing. Check out Margay Racing's Spec Ignite class and their Arrive and Drive packages. Nothing matches the affordability and competitive level of the Ignite program. It's just one set of tires, national level caliber drivers, where the best driver wins over the best equipment. Bring your safety gear and Margay will take care of the rest. This year's Ignite Majors include the USAC Karting Elkhart Riverwalk Grand Prix and the Rock Island Grand Prix on Labor Day weekend. The Midwest-based Ignite Challenge Series will hit 6 different tracks in 2024, and be sure to find a club running an Ignite class in your part of the country. For more information, please visit ignitekarting.com today. Get off the couch and into a race seat. All right, Dave, let's talk about one of the big things that happened. You and I kind of rolled in there on Friday morning, chatting with EKN partners, teams, drivers, families, whatever it may be. And one of the big, I think, talking points was everybody just looked at us and went, man, we're burned out. The fifth straight event for many of the teams, drivers, families. It's been a busy 5 weeks in Florida.
Yeah, and for some even more, and going into this weekend with Rock Cup USA Florida Winter Tour, essentially we'll wrap up the Florida streak with that many races in a row in Florida. A little bit of a break before the Pro Tour begins, but again, everybody will be back there a week ahead of time to do the testing and the Norberg race that they're going to have as well too. So there's just a lot of racing that's going to be going on, very similar to what we saw last year. And I think everybody's just kind of counting down the days till April, end of April, beginning of May, where kind of regroup and catch your breath. And hopefully we don't lose compete people or lose, the drive and that stuff. But again, it's just a lot. It just, I get it. I understand it. Promoters, you don't make money if you're sitting on the couch not hosting a race. So I get that side of things. Race teams, they got to go to the racetrack in order to make money. I get that as well too, but it just seems like there's just a lot of racing. It's like we're loading it all in the front end and kind of, hoping it returns back when we hit summertime.
Well, it comes down to the fact of this, right? It's been like this for the last number of years with both the Winter Series and the Florida Winter Tour for Rock Cup. Then, of course, now the emerging success of the Rotax program at the Winter Trophy event. They've seen the success with J3 and Race Rotax and their Trophy Series events, and of course the Trophy Series final at Newcastle. But then you throw these back-to-back weekends for Rotax at Orlando. All of a sudden, it just jams everybody up, and it's crazy because all the teams and the families and drivers, they're trying to run everything as opposed to just picking one, right? And that's the whole thing of, hey, seat time. I need more seat time. If they're doing it, I'm doing it, and that's kind of the role where we're on right now. And again, is it sustainable? I think that's the bottom line question, right? That's really is this something we're going to be able to keep doing year in and year out?
Yeah, and there's no right or wrong answer. We don't know because again, you don't know the amount of people that we're going to have in the sport next year, year after that. And we've seen a good influx of new people into the sport since COVID. Really. So the last 3 years we've been kind of riding the wave, and when you're riding the wave, it's like, yes, we can add more races because we have more people. Well, not necessarily. You kind of have to look at it. We are getting bigger numbers at these events than what we've had in the past. So that kind of does dictate that. But you don't want to, again, drag it out too long to where people get burnt out, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And
the budgets keep going up.
The budgets keep going up, but we also need to continue to grow the pyramid, get that base going to where people can work up from the club level to the regional to the national level. You can't always have people jumping in at the national level, even if you may have the budget for it. Because again, if you're running at the back of the field 10 weekends in a row, are you going to go back for an 11th? That's the question.
Yeah, you're right. And write that down for a topic for a future roundtable. And it's how to approach new people coming to the sport. Because again, like you said, there's a number of teams that are bringing people brand spanking new straight up to a national level event, and they're just getting their ass handed to them on the racetrack, and that just can't be the experience everybody's trying to look for, right?
Yeah, I'm writing it down right now.
Attaboy. All right, so David, a number of drivers kind of moving over chassis-wise. And one of the ones that we talked about was Ben Crittenden moving to Parallel USA as technical and operations director. And then with Supertune, of course, under Ben and his crew there, welcoming Nathan Dupuis. He made a move over to the Parallel chassis with Supertune.
Yeah, Crittenden is, been in the United States for a long time from the UK, raced over there. Got a lot of experience, came over here. It was actually with First Kart North America was his start. So we remember that back in the middle of 2000s. Yeah. And then, he worked his way. They did the Bennett thing, and now he broke off and started the Supertune team. And he's been doing that for a number of years. And Parallel USA approached him with this opportunity. And so he's the technical and operations director now under that brand. And so working with Parallel drivers from all different teams, and then setting aside the team stuff with Billy McLaughlin, and oh my gosh, I can't think of the driver.
Yeah, I can't.
Top Car driver who won Supernats.
Marco Mastronzi.
Marco Mastronzi, yes. So those two are essentially going to be running the race team operations for Super Tune. And then, welcoming Nathan Dupuis over for the first time on the Parolin brands under the Super Tune tent. So debut for all of that happening this past weekend.
So one of the big things that happened, again, Dave, you give me more information on this, was the Friday meeting they had talking about the new format for the Superkarts USA Pro Tour.
Yeah, as it was announced earlier, they're separating Pro Shifter, X30 Pro towards the end of each day. That's the goal with their new Pro Show format that they're going to be running in 2024. And so they're still kind of nailing down the kind of the details and format of the weekend, because it's all going to debut in Orlando for the Winter Nationals. So they met with some of the teams to kind of discuss format of each day and how the race weekend will unfold. Certainly one of the things that was talked about is hot pit. That's something that they've been trying to implement. Unfortunately, with the way Orlando is laid out, it provides a lot of challenges in that scenario. So we're waiting to see what Superkarts USA will be announcing. So that was one of the meeting topics. And again, just trying to make sure the teams are all on board with the way they're going to debut this new format. So waiting to hear, I'm assuming either this week or next week, we'll kind of get more details surrounding that and get information from them on that.
There you go. All right. Another thing I'd mentioned before we came into the break and into this edition of the Paddock Pass, new tires, obviously, right? The MG SH2 and the SW2. I know that you did some comparison, David, on pace, speed wise from 2023 to 2024, both in the clockwise and counterclockwise direction, like we ran back in January.
Yeah, we already covered the clockwise stuff in the previous debrief. That comparing last year's tire to this year's tire for the categories that have gone from the SH tire to the SH2 tire. When we're looking at qualifying times, and you have 6 classes that utilize this tire, and we found that the SH2 tire was a lot quicker in a number of the different categories in the counterclockwise direction. And then so we kind of took that same data for the clockwise direction, and the numbers are pretty close in terms of the differences between 2023 and 2024. You look at K100 Senior, got about 6 to 8 tenths difference quicker in qualifying. K100 Junior about 1 second to 6 tenths quicker. Half a second for X30 Junior. K Master, which I think it's maybe because it's a heavier category, so I don't know if why there isn't much difference, but you're only talking about 2 tenths difference in qualifying times from last year to this year. So, and even in Mini Swift, it was only 2 tenths was a larger gap between last year and this year. And then Micro Swift had a gap of 8 tenths. So again, this tire certainly is a little bit better. And again, I think all the sessions were in dry conditions, no wet weather affecting the qualifying sessions at all. So just more data. We'll put this out on social media as well too, to kind of everybody can kind of look at the breakdown and compare it to the counterclockwise that we did back in January. So interesting to look at the numbers and how much quicker lap times are with this new SH2 tire.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that tire changes potentially. Obviously, pace, as you said, raceability, durability. We'll see that more happen as that tire gets used throughout the 2024 season. All right, we're done with the Paddock Pass. Time to jump on into the race reports. We'll work our way through the categories after this break. We'll come back and talk about Pro X30 and Pro Shifter. Don't go anywhere. More to come on this edition of the Debrief. In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at www.franklinkart.com, where all our products are just a mouse click away. We're constantly adding to the growing product selection on the online store, and we ship daily to ensure products get to you quickly. We specialize in IAME engines, Tillett seats, ceramic products, driveline branded products, Briggs & Stratton engines, OTK products, and of course, the championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find a variety of items to fill your karting needs. Franklin Motorsports is also known for our wide variety of services and is home to Innovative Engine Works by FMS, our in-house engine service department. Frame straightening, kart prep, and dyno testing are all services offered regularly at Franklin Motorsports. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. History, success, family. Those are the three words that can describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation located just outside of Indianapolis has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, continually adding new parts to their product line. From full karting packages, new engines, spare or replacement parts, and safety gear, find it all at CometKartSales.com. Their Comet Racing Engine service has won multiple major events and championships over decades of karting and continues to offer the best trackside service in the industry, specializing in IAME X30, IAME Swift, and other 2-cycle power plants. Make sure to head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. The new face of competitive karting in the Pacific Northwest region is RaceLab. The full-service karting operation is located at the state-of-the-art Kartplex facility in Oliver, British Columbia, Canada, providing everything you need to hit the track or put yourself in a successful driver development program. RaceLab is the official North American distributor for the TB Kart chassis brand, providing the full range of models from kid kart to shifter kart. Villeneuve Racing Karts is their flagship product, available only through RaceLab. The brand carries the name of Formula One champion and Indianapolis 500 winner Jacques Villeneuve, with each model produced by TB Kart. Kartplex, the home of RaceLab, is situated on the grounds of the Area 27 Motorsports Park. From full arrive and drive TB Kart rentals to leagues and competition karting, the facility provides a new home to developing the future stars of motorsports, all beginning at Kartplex with RaceLab. Follow RaceLab on social media on Facebook and Instagram, or load up their website at www.theracelab.ca to learn more about TB Kart and Villeneuve Racing Karts. RaceLab. Race with us, win with us. And back to jump into the race report as this edition of the Debrief. Again, this edition of the Debrief brought to you by Sodi Racing USA. We'll head on into the race report segment of the podcast now. This one presented by Parolin USA. It all started back in 1994 when former kart driver Albino Parolin decided to move his passion for karting from the track to his small workshop. That's when Parolin was born. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products. We run a factory race team at all the major Superkarts USA, USPKS, and Rock Cup USA events. The Parolin chassis lineup includes the Invader Shifter, the Le Mans Tag single-speed chassis for junior and senior drivers, the 28mm Opportunity model for the cadet classes, and the Daytona 4-cycle chassis. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. For more information, head to ParolinUSA.com. All right, let's set it up, folks. I'll roll in here with the category. I'll drop the headline, and David and I can kind of fill it in from there. Pro X30, presented by Speed Lab Racing Engines, and here's the headline. 4 different winners in 4 rounds. Pretty impressive, David, all told.
It is, especially when you're looking at, Pro X30 being the headline division and the number of drivers that you have in there, and something we haven't seen too much, but really at the Winter Series, we do see the little diversity in terms of drivers picking up victories. And certainly we did again in 2024. Round 3, however, belonged to Donovan Bonilla, the Rollison Performance Group driver on the Cosmic, swept the day's action.
Yeah.
set fast time in qualifying of 47.374 and led wire to wire in both the pre-final and final. Just essentially checked out from the field in the main event as they battled behind him pretty heavily
and
for
early.
the second spot.
Like
and
right
early.
at the start of the main, they started battling, and he was gone. Like he literally had probably 2 seconds at the end of the opening lap.
Yeah, then that anytime you get that, it's going to be hard to come back. Harley Keeble eventually got into the second spot by about the halfway mark, just before the halfway mark. He ran fast laps of the race, but not quite enough, as it was only 1.4, or it was a large 1.4 second advantage for Bonilla at the line ahead of Keeble.
Yeah, I want to say Keeble cut it in half, though. I think it was like about 3 seconds. I think when I was calling that race, he was 2/10 quicker a lap, kind of thing, right? Bonilla was being was really consistent, but Keeble was just there weren't enough laps for him to catch him based on the pace he was running. But still, he was just cutting into that gap, just like lap after lap, 2/10, 3/10, 1/10. It never stopped.
Yeah, it was. Well, he gained a half a second on the last lap, so that tells you how big the advantage was.
Yeah,
so,
right.
But Keeble fast lap of the race, so he did get that. Was quick on the Sodi kart, just not able to get in position to challenge, as he had to come up from the 4th spot. He actually fell back into 7th at the start of the main event.
A lot of great racing behind them, though. Obviously, Bonilla out front. We didn't focus on them that much because there was just a lot of really hardcore racing. Diego Ramos coming through to finish in the 3rd spot. Paul Di Massimino is probably down to 8th or 9th at one point, fought his way back up. And I want to say like the last couple of laps was able to come out with a strong 4th place finish. Dalton Haynes was in the middle of the battle as well on the Sodi kart machine, and they were all kind of going at it there. Massimino had to make a big move to the inside of Haynes. I think it was in turn like 2 and 3 kind of thing to get to the spot. But nonetheless, as David had said, a wire-to-wire victory for Paul Bonilla. Hard charger in the event, though, David. Another one of the RPG drivers, Laurent Legault, who was actually in the middle of the scrap all weekend long, up 20 spots, started 29th in the pre-final, ended up 9th in the main event.
Yeah, started 29th in the main event. Yeah, and finished 29th in the pre-final. And worked his way up to the 9th. So a good drive.
Any idea what happened? To drop him that far back? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I would assume it had to be contact. Completed 8 laps, was running in the top 10 actually. So I'm assuming contact.
There you go. Okay, I can't really remember top of my head right now what happened to him. Or did it? Oh, he might have pulled off to the side of the racetrack with something wrong mechanical too. That's a possibility. I have a feeling he might have pulled off going up to turn number 9 with a mechanical, like a chain or something like that. We were wondering. Anyways, let's roll into Sunday, because it was obviously a much different day.
It was, and the debut of Stephen Miller, the senior rookie, making his X30 debut. Set fast time in Sunday qualifying, working with AM engines aboard the Esprit karts. Yeah. So kind of doing Esprit with AM on the X30 side, and then running Nash Motorsports in KA Senior. So kind of going back and forth between the 2 tents all weekend long.
Dave, let me give you some insight too, because I asked Stephen Miller about that. They go, "Where'd this come from?" Right? Because he hadn't run X30 yet. He said Ariel Castro just said, "Hey, listen, I got an engine, I got a cart, I'll take care of the engine, tires, and everything. Do you just want to drive for me?" And Stephen's like, "Yeah, all right, I'd love to do that. Let's go back and forth." And man, I think it obviously showed. Good call for Ariel, because Miller had that package, that combination of his engines, AM engines, and the Esprit up front, essentially all weekend long. All weekend long, he was pretty stout all weekend.
Yeah, it was. And you know who else used to do that as well?
Who's that?
Mateus Morgado. I believe it was in the 2022 season. He came and ran for Ariel before going to Europe. And what'd he do in Europe in 2022?
Happened to win a championship, I think.
Yeah, some little world championship.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah. So, so Miller put himself at the front of the field in qualifying, but Bonilla, who we saw be really strong on Saturday, found himself at the front of the field at the end of the pre-final. But interesting and exciting start to the main event as they went through turn 2. Bonilla kind of got pushed to the outside, actually dropped the wheel, and kind of basically spun sideways in the middle of the field. Thankfully, did not get hit by anyone and was able to continue on, but fell all the way back to, I want to say, 22nd at the end of the opening lap. So that essentially took him out. It was actually 24th. So that essentially took him out of the running as three kart republics got together and drove away from the rest of the field. It was Alessandro Di Tullio, Brandon Carr, and Thomas Naveau out front running 1, 2, and 3. For a majority of the time, it was Naveau leading the way. Di Tullio got by, and then eventually Carr got by and into the lead. And as they took the white flag, he defended into turn 1, didn't get a great run through the corners, so this allowed Di Tullio pull inside of him just enough to be in that spot where he's gonna own the apex going into turn 2. So Thomas Naveau behind him, he either had his teammate to choose to push or Di Tullio. Well, he chose his teammate on the outside, pushed him forward just enough to where Carr was able to clear Di Tullio through turn number 2. And from there, it was all Carr leading the way all the way to the checkered flag as they kind of battled behind him for second and giving Carr his first SCUSA Winter Series victory in X30.
Yeah, indeed, a big win for Brandon Carr for sure. Di Tullio coming home in second, Naveau in third. But Naveau also, because it was obviously Kart Republic 1, 2, 3. Naveau did a pretty good job in terms of holding back one of the Lions as well. Ryan Norberg, who had fallen back a little bit deeper in the field, fought his way back forward, reached the rear of Naveau, but Thomas was kind of running that blocker move, right? Wasn't allowing anybody to get through to get their way back up to Carr or Di Tullio. So Norberg ended up finishing in the 4th spot, really nowhere to go, and he would then cap off the championship in the 2nd position. Bonilla in 3rd. Dalton Haynes, another top 5. 2 top 5s on the day, or the weekend rather, for Dalton Haynes. He ends up in the 5th spot. Di Tullio with the championship by 75 markers over Norberg. Bonilla, as I said, back 92 points for 3rd. And the hard charger of the race, David Lucas Nanji on the Kart Republic, up 13 spots, started 27th, ended up 14th.
Yeah, I believe contact was the situation for him in the pre-final.
Let's move to the Pro Shifter category presented by PSL Karting. And here's the headline. Morgado uses weekend sweep to clinch the crown. Really a tale of 2 weekends, right?
It was. I mean, you had January as his really U.S. debut in the shifter kart category after racing a couple or handful of races in Europe in the KZ platform. So really kind of it was a big change. You know, last month we saw Formal really kind of dominate everything, kind of show the way and kind of give Morgado kind of a schooling on how to shifter kart race. And really it was kind of a flip of it. You know, Morgado just seemed to have this enormous pace. I mean, not necessarily racecraft, but just the pace. I think nearly every session he was clear of the field, whether it be 2 or 3 tenths. And I think that began in qualifying on Saturday. It was just under 2 tenths. He was quicker by Formal in the qualifying session, went on to win the pre-final. And then the main event, Formal, great hole shot, got to the lead, but Morgado came back, took control, and from there was able to just drive away again with fast laps of the race. He ran a 45.851. That was his quickest. He was the only driver in the 45. So that's at least 2 tenths of a lap quicker every lap as he pulled out away to a 3.5 second advantage over Formal.
Yeah, in the post-race interviews, Formal said, "Hey, listen, he just had us covered. You know, we were missing a bit on the chassis, we were missing a bit on the engine, right?" And it says, "What do you do?" He was 4 tenths faster on Sunday too. When we get to that, but again, Morgado with that win, 3.5 seconds. Formal second. We had Giorgio Carrara back with Inter MS on the Kart Republic, and he was a factor throughout the weekend too. He ended up 3rd. Michael Riccio for Magic Kart USA, man, he was kind of a revelation all weekend long. Was right in the middle of the scrap too. He ends up finishing in the 4th spot ahead of Justin White on the Maranello. You talked about the Formal getting a whole shot. Morgado took control, as you said, but Alan Isambard was right in the middle because it was a kind of a 4-driver fight at one point up front. Isambard got hard into the back of, I don't know if it was Formal or not. Somebody might have been Carrara, ended up breaking the nose off, and that was it for him. And another driver we talked about being very impressive in January, Cooper Becklin for Rawlson Performance Group on the Cosmic, had an issue in the pre-final, started 11th, and was able to get himself up into 7th.
Yeah, so Sunday, as you kind of said, Morgado found even a little bit more speed, unless everybody else got slower. Because a little bit, when I say a little bit, I'm talking like 92 thousandths quicker in qualifying. So just a little bit quicker, but still almost 4/10 quicker than anybody else in the qualifying session. And again, when's the pre-final? Got the whole shot this time in the final, but Formal struck quickly on cold tires, got ahead of Morgado in the, I want to say, the opening lap, and then led a couple laps until Morgado made a great deep move going into the first hairpin.
Remember too, David. Remember too that Morgado got pushed back more than one spot. Didn't he get pushed back to like third at one point? I want to say Carrara or Isambard or something got by him early because he actually wasn't second. I think he went back to third, but then immediately fought himself back forward, and then you can go on from there. But he did.
Correct. Yeah,
he did get pushed back to more than second. Everybody knew that they had to gang up and put him down as far as they could if there was any chance at all.
I don't think it was going to help. I think he would have had to been spun sideways and had to restart in order for.
He probably could have started last. Exactly right.
So yeah, just the pace was phenomenal. But you took my dramatic deep move into the hairpin. But anyway,
we'll finish it off. You
wanted to interrupt me. He made a deep move into the hairpin.
I wanted to set the.
It was deep and good.
What was it though? The interesting thing was it was like a last minute lunge to the apex. So
when they go through the double lefts there, and again in this direction, you come up to essentially for the shifters, it's a jump. You go through the jump right dog leg before you make the hairpin turn. And as Formal was kind of setting up to make the jump, Morgado just powered inside and got to the jump first, and Formal kind of had to check up. And then so Morgado had the line in the hairpin, and then from there just motored away. And as you said, basically 4/10 of a lap quicker when in terms of fast lap of the race, and pulled out to a near 6-second margin of victory.
It is my favorite part of this particular track layout in terms of raceability, when guys will make a move like that with Morgado in turn 7, right? When you make that, whatever move you make to kind of dive to the apex, like over the 7 curb into the, I just think that's super cool. When the guys that are able to control the cart once it lands and get it back to where it needs to be.
I was gonna say, you got to have the confidence to do it, because if you just throw it in there, not having the confidence or not having the ability to do it, it's going to cause you trouble or a lot of other people trouble.
Sure, it's going to be messy, 100%. Once out front, though, obviously Morgado was able to pull away. That was just simple as that. And we knew that was going to happen. He ends up winning by 5.8 seconds. So even more than he won on Saturday, he was able to expand that to 5.8 on Sunday. Again, Formal said he just simply didn't have anything for him on this occasion. Carrera back in third. So the identical podium from Saturday to Sunday. Alan Isambard this time able to avoid the issues he had on Saturday. He ends up taking fourth. Michael Riccio again in the top 5 for Magic Kart USA, all told. A great weekend for him. Formal able to steal the championship away from Formal. And you got to think Formal, David, after that kind of dominant performance in January, he was coming in like, okay, I got this. I think we even figured he had the championship locked in, right? Like one really good day on race 3 on Saturday. Hey, he's going to lock this thing down. But Morgado was absolutely perfect. And in doing so, remember, fast lap of the race, every race, there's pole for 10 points. There's fast lap of the mains for 10 extra points. On sheer pace alone, 2 poles and 2 fastest laps was 40 points. He ends up beating Formal by 25 points to score the championship.
Yeah, a great performance, great championship performance by Morgado on Sunday. Like you said, we thought Formal had it in hand, but PSL Karting, Burrell Art, TM, they all did their homework and got him moving in this direction. And he said, and I think he said in the interview, he doesn't necessarily like this direction better. He likes the other direction better. So explain that to me. I don't know. You would think
he wants to go back again and redo the first couple of rounds, right?
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they actually figured it out, and now they've got it figured out. They want to go back in the other direction.
Again, like we said, Morgado, Formal, Isambard, top 3 in the championship. Scott Barnes, Skitchy Barnes, uncontested in the Masters category. Finished 7th in day 1, and then ran actually up as a pro shifter on Sunday, so that he was able to keep his positions. On Saturday, he would start the race from last. Doesn't matter where he finished, because he was up there running with a couple of drivers, running at the tail of the field there. So he was able to then run and finish. He finished 7th on Sunday. When he was able to start, work his way up to the pre-final. So all told, Skitchy Barnes getting the championship and get a chance to run with the pro guys on the next day. We'll continue through here for the race report, folks. With a quick break in the action. When we come back, it'll be KA100 Senior, X30 Junior, and KA100 Junior. 3 categories up next on this edition of the Debrief.
Are you ready to go from karts to cars? Since 1975, the Skip Barber Racing School has taken great drivers and made them champions. Today, we're proud to welcome the next generation of winners. Make the transition from karts to cars with the Skip Barber Formula Race Series. You'll compete at the most iconic tracks in America. Race weekends include your very own equalized Formula 4 race car, a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. This is the place to fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Sign up today by calling 866-932-1949 or visit us at skipbarber.com.
All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the US, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK. From the legendary Tony Kart brand to the race-winning Cosmic and Esprit chassis, and now the new Red Speed and EOS brands, OTK quality is second to none. All 5 brands are winning races and championships across the country in national programs like the Ruck Cup USA Florida Winter Tour and the Challenge of the Americas, the SCUSA Pro Tour and Winter Series, and the Pro Kart Challenge, the United States Pro Kart Series, and the WKA Manufacturers Cup. And OTK products are also front and center on the podium of club and regional races from coast to coast. To learn more about a specific product line, you can find the OTK USA dealer near you, whether it's Tony Kart, Cosmic, Esprit, Red Speed, or EOS. Visit www.otkusa.com. Specific chassis territories are still available, so kart shops interested in adding a winning component to their product lineups can contact OTK USA directly. It all started in my parents' garage. That's the foundation for MPG Motorsports, which grew from a small home garage in Indiana into one of the top race teams and kart shops in the industry. A true passion for motorsports runs deep in the DNA of MPG, which has developed strong connections within karting. Now based at the Whiteland Raceway Park in central Indiana, MPG Motorsports offers a wide range of opportunities through its race team while providing a full-service kart shop as an official dealer for the Kart Republic brand. The MPG Motorsports race team is led by ownership partner and karting champion Chase Jones and provides full trackside service and driver development. Be part of the MPG program at the USPKS, Stars Championship Series, and Route 66 Sprint Series events with arrive and drive opportunities available at those programs, as well as at the Whiteland Club races this season. A new 3,500 square foot shop is now open at the Whiteland Raceway Park in Whiteland, Indiana, and is the new home of MPG Motorsports. This new headquarters will provide local and regional racers with a full-service race shop that provides a wide range of parts and supplies to racers, including the full chassis line of the Kart Republic brand. For more, head to mpg-motorsports.com and follow us on social media. Let MPG Motorsports take your motorsports career in the direction of your choice. Welcome back to episode 125 of our EKN Debrief, our race report podcast, all part of our EKN Trackside Live coverage. David Cole, myself, Rob Howden, were at Homestead for the final 2 rounds of the Superkarts USA Winter Series this past weekend. And here we are rolling our way through the race report brought to you by Parolin USA. KA100 Senior, presented by Sodi Racing USA. Here's the headline. DeTulio doubles up in wins and championships. He was just impressive all weekend long.
Yeah, he loves Homestead. It's his home racetrack, knows it very well. Backwards, forwards, in the wet, in the dry.
Yeah, that's true.
He's got it covered.
Yeah.
But Stephen Miller had it covered to begin Saturday. Won the set fast time in qualifying, was able to hold on and win the pre-final. But it was him and DeTulio that were able to get away from the rest of the field. They were kind of just settling in, waiting for something to happen, and it did. Going into the second hairpin, DeTulio made his move, got through. Miller kind of tried to hold it on the outside, ran out of room. I believe, went over the curbing that they have there and
He
kind
did,
of
yeah.
lost ground and got into the grass a little bit. And that essentially was the winning move as DiTullio drove away to a near 1 second victory over Miller.
There was a little bit of contact at the apex. Let's be real. The Tulio had to kind of force it to the inside, right? The opening was there. He got down to the bottom, but he kind of had to force it a little bit. And Miller standing on the throttle, didn't want to give it up, right? Probably could have maybe gave it up and tried it in another corner, but I think he figured he would have had more on the outside and just kind of got run to the outside of the curbing, David, as you had mentioned. Did the best he could to hold him off, but it just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, that's a tough area to hold the outside, because
It is.
it's not just it's not level curbing or rumble strips. It's actual curb. And so if you jump on that, it's going to either throw you left or throw you right, depending on how hard you hit it. And if you go left, you're going to go into the grass, which is just on the outside there. And then you got to fight your way back onto the racetrack area. And not exactly the best spot to hold the outside, especially when it's just you two up front. Let the guy through, regroup, get him the next lap.
That's true. Yeah, indeed. But again, in the end, DiTullio ends up coming out. The win was just over 0.8 of a second. Miller finishing in second on that Nash Motorsports EOS. Mick Gabriel was really good all weekend long. I think he actually led for a time in this race early on, or that might have been Sunday. But regardless, Gabriel comes home in third. Donovan Bonilla was fourth. Again, as we talked about, Bonilla being a winner on Saturday in X30 Senior. He was right in the hunt in all the races as well. And Chase Bisaglia, I think a really good run for him. Chase on the Gallard for GWR coming home to finish off the top five. Hard charger Logan Adams in the Tony Kart up 22 spots. Involved in a big wreck in the pre-final, but was able to, he was fine. They were able to get things back together. He started at the tail of the field 38th and moved up 22 spots to 16th. Good run for Logan Adams, who will actually run in the USF Pro 2000 category this year, but getting a run in there with Rawlison Performance Group on the weekend.
Yeah, great recovery for him. Yeah, he hasn't done a lot of national karting. You know, he's normally the trash guy at Newcastle when big races head there. So it's the hard part, I think, you know, talking with his dad Mike, is he was trying to drive it like a car again, and it's like, no, get back into your karting rhythm. And I think it, you know, again, takes a couple of days to kind of break that rust and get to it. And I think he was doing really well on Saturday till it started raining again.
On Sunday, yeah, indeed.
Or on Sunday, yeah.
I don't think they didn't run the main. They actually didn't run the main event. Yeah, which I get. You know, you don't want to destroy kart when the focus is on car racing, right? Why go out into a wreck fest and bend up a chassis? I understand that for sure. Dave, let's talk Sunday, because you only need to talk about DiTullio in terms of the results. Qualified on pole, 49.117, won the pre-final, and then, of course, in a very challenging wet race, was able to essentially walk away to an 8.4 second victory.
Yeah, very similar to what we saw on Sunday in last month, where he was the provisional winner, walked away from the field. Unfortunately, had the rear bumper situation with the tires disqualifying him from the race. So he was able to avoid that, drove away to an 8.4 second victory over Stephen Miller, who essentially had second spot wrapped up for a majority of the race, and just didn't quite have the pace that DiTullio had. When you look at fast lap of the race, DiTullio 0.4 of a lap quicker than Stephen Miller's fast lap. So an amazing performance by DiTullio, who was able to lock up this class championship. So 2 championships on the weekend for him.
Yeah, a lot going on, because third, fourth, and fifth in the final results were Garbarino, Overbeck, and Cameron Weinberg. Those are the drivers that brought Valentino Garbarino on a Tony Kart. James Overbeck making his run here at the Scusa Winter Series on a Tony Kart, and then the TV Kart of Cameron Weinberg. But the real battle for third was actually between Colin Lloyd and Ivana Richards. Ivana, of course, getting the victory back in January. She finished second to DiTullio and got the win with his DQ. She was able to work her way forward once again, showing, again, incredible wet weather ability for Ivana Richards. So impressive. She's able to get in there in the middle of a big fight with Colin Lloyd. She kept making great moves to the inside of turn number 8. You talked about the pass that Morgado had made. She would make this inside move. Everybody else was trying the outside. She would make the inside stick in the first of the 2 hairpins. But it came down to essentially the final lap, and she had made a great move, got the pass done on Lloyd in turn number 9 as they came through 10 and over to 11, the first of the 2 right-handers lead onto the front straightaway. Literally, she opened up for the corner, and Colin Lloyd literally just drove over top of her. It's like he didn't even lift. He just literally just came straight in, tried to make a move to the inside, and just drove over top of her, taking both those carts out. And indeed, I think Lloyd was able to continue, but he eventually did get a penalty.
Yeah, he was able to continue, but was penalized for the contact. So that dropped him out of the top 5. And as you said, that allowed Garbarino to slide through and take the 3rd spot on the podium, and moving Overbeck and Cameron Weinberg up into the top 5.
Yeah, hard charger ended up being Austin Olds. It was a rough day for Austin, all told. They found on Saturday night, they found that they had a bent chassis. They were able to pull another one out and get another chassis dialed up for him. He qualifies top 10, but then is light by half a pound at the scales. Got to start at the tail of field in the pre-final, working his way up in the pre-final, got a bunch of passes done, and then something happened. I can't remember what I think it was a bent axle. I think obviously was in the middle of some kind of an incident. Ben Axel came in early, ended up having to start 33rd on the field in the main event, and in tough conditions, drove his way up to 9th.
Yeah, up and down weekend when you start the weekend. I went and saw them on Friday, and he's like, "Yeah, man, we're feeling really good. We got the pace. We got drivers watching what we're doing." And then everything kind of just went away. And then, as you said, Saturday they found out bent chassis. I think they bent it back. I don't know if they pulled out a new one for Sunday, or if they went
over and grabbed a new one from Sean Bailiff.
That. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Because they had it on the table, they had it straightened, but they're like, listen, we got pace. We're here to try to run up front, not to try to limp this thing home, right? Like we can. It didn't make any sense to keep going out with it, so they got another chassis from Sean Bailiff.
Yeah, but good to see him do well in wet conditions. And again, anytime it's wet, it gives you an opportunity to gain a lot of spots. So 24 spots in a 20. Oh, what was the? No, sorry, I lost 17 laps. Yeah, 17
minutes plus a lap.
Yeah, so they got 17 laps.
It's 17 minutes plus a lap.
Right, but what I'm saying, the total race distance was 17 laps.
Well, they only got 17 because literally X30 Senior. Remember, X30 Pro got 23.
Correct, because all the main events on Sunday after Mini Swift were 17 minutes plus 1 lap. Yeah. And because of the drying conditions, they had already ruled all finals at this lap or at this distance. That was the only one that went longer. I think Junior landed just on 22.
It did. Yep.
As did, I think, K100 Master.
Pro Shifter as well.
And Pro Shifter, yep.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of surprised when it was full dry, they just didn't go back to 22. That kind of surprised me. So they didn't go back. Let's go 22 laps. We're dry again. Anyways, bottom line is DeTullio with another championship, 115 points ahead of Stephen Miller. So a very strong winter series for DeTullio to bag a couple of championships for himself, for Inter MS, for Kart Republic. Way to make a statement to start the season. And then again, Donovan Bonilla was 3rd in points, 219 back. So a couple of 3rd place finishes in the championships for Bonilla. We'll move now to X30 Junior, presented by Rawlson Performance Group. And the headline here is Ardiles with solid pace for the championship. Yeah,
Ardiles was essentially the driver to beat all weekend long. Near perfect weekend for him. Swept the action on Saturday. Fast time in qualifying, won the pre-final, and had to fight his way back forward, though, in the main event. Got dropped to 6th place early on, but race pace kept him fast and moving forward, eventually getting back into the lead by lap 10 of the 22-lap race. And then essentially from there, kept himself at the front of the field, never was really challenged, had Jackson Wolney trailing him. Actually, Wolney was fast lap of the race towards the end of the race, but just not enough to be able to get out after Ardiles as Diego went on to win his 2nd race of the series to that point.
You think about Jackson Wolney and kind of, the Winter Series being his breakout when he was first able to get on the podium and where he's come since then. Obviously he's really stepped things up and he was, you'll find out he was obviously 2nd in both days on Saturday and Sunday. Just had a lot of great speed out of Jackson Wolney running for Speed Concepts Racing on the Ren Speed. Enzo Vidmontien ended up finishing in the 3rd spot. Alexander Vanchev for Zanello Racing was right up in there, scrapping away on the weekend too. He got a couple of top 5 finishes. He finishes 4th. Sarah Bradley once again continuing some of the impressive pace we saw from her in January for Speed Concepts Racing. So she finishes 5th. Tristan Murphy ended up being the hard charger, was in the slow group in qualifying, worked his way forward, 27th position from the pre-final, ended up finishing 13th, a 14 spot improvement for Tristan Murphy.
Yeah, good recovery for him in the 22 lap race.
Mm-hmm. On Sunday,
Sunday
qualifying was a wild one.
That was the only blemish to Diego's weekend in Homestead. Max Weiland put down a flyer of 48.062, so just 8 thousandths quicker than what Ardiles was able to get on Saturday to steal the pole position away from him and the rest of the field. But Ardiles came back and was able to win the pre-final. Weiland and Wolney were right there in the mix, kind of keeping him honest. It was kind of a 3-driver breakaway and was close. So we were expecting, okay, we're gonna get a great fight, a great battle in the main event. Unfortunately, Ardiles was just too strong, super fast in a somewhat dry track. I think maybe the first couple of laps they were kind of finding out what the grip level was for the drivers. Would you agree with that, Rob?
Well, yeah, that was to a certain extent, right? Because we were essentially
because K Master just got done. Yeah,
and they were pretty much fully dry. But again, listen, listen, we had enough rain that the track was a little dirty. That's for sure, right? It wasn't fully gripped up.
So yeah, I think a lot of drivers are trying to navigate the track without, again, not using the rumble strips. Where couldn't use them as.
That's it. That's the key. You couldn't go offline. There was a dry line, but if you went significantly offline, you were back in the damp again still. That's one part of it.
Especially the rumble strips where the water was sitting and not drying away because the sun hadn't dried it all out yet. So so it certainly caught the junior drivers off a little bit. Ardiles was able to navigate it strongly, out any issues, never put a wheel wrong, and just was able to put down consistent lap times. Wolney, again, quickest on the fast lap of the race by nearly 2/10 over what Ardiles was able to do. But I think Ardiles is just too consistent in the early part of the race to be able to stay away. And Wolney ran solo in second, but again, a strong drive by Ardiles for a 3rd victory. Wolney, another runner-up result. So a good 1-2 by those two drivers.
Yeah, it was a really good fight for P3, and I was sad to see Max Weiland retire at one point with whatever mechanical issue it was, because listen, he qualified on pole, did well in the pre-final. In the middle of the main event, he's in the middle of this fight. Great opportunity for him to learn, fighting up front, and he fell back a bit and got himself back forward and wasn't giving up, which I thought was great. Hopefully, he'll take a lot from this event going to the next one and be able to continue to do that because he showed really good pace. In the end, with him retiring, Vanchev, as I mentioned, for Zanella coming through for 3rd, Ty Fisher for TB Kart in the Race Lab crew. Ty Fisher was strong in the middle of the discussion all weekend long. He ends up 4th. Michael McGoy rounding out the top 5. And indeed, I talked about Vanchev. So he had a good run up front in that group, on Saturday. Sunday, he had to start deep in the field, and we were watching him come through like he was just on attack. He's actually the driver who ended up being the hard charger, David, up 21 spots. How about 24th to 3rd in the end for Vanchev?
Yeah, DNF in the pre-final put him at the back of the field for the main event. So he was probably able to take advantage of those nimble early laps that some of the drivers were taking to not get too crazy. There were probably a few spin-offs as well and a few DNFs along the way, but still a solid drive. Just about a 10th off what Ardiles was able to put down for fast laps. So again, a really good performance overall on the weekend by Vanchev.
Ardiles actually came into the championship with an opportunity, or the series, the finale, with a chance to win 2 championships. Only came away with this one, 115 points. He wins the X30 Junior Championship over Jackson Wolney. Again, had those 2 really good finishes on Saturday and Sunday to move to 2nd. Enzo Vidmontian rounding out the top 3 in that championship. Many of the same drivers in this battle again in KA100 Junior, which was presented by Nash Motorsports for this year's Winter Series. Here's the headline, though. Garzon holds on to championship with wild ending.
This was probably the one category we're kind of watching the points as they ran, and I kind of screwed up my side of the equation, but
all good.
We won't get into that later. So Saturday was Garzon and Ardiles that were the drivers to beat in January. They were the same drivers to beat this weekend as
Yeah.
well. Ardiles was the quickest driver in qualifying and then won the pre-final. And then the two drivers were away from the rest of the field, but still battling. It was kind of good to see them kind of going back and forth, gauging each other. But Garzón just proved to be a little bit stronger and was able to take the lead towards the end of the race and just kind of muscle his way a little bit quicker ahead of Ardiles to be able to score a second victory on the series.
Yeah, indeed. Garzón with the win by almost a full second from Ardiles. Jackson Wolney, another podium finish, finishing in the third spot on Saturday. Naomi Jade Garcia on the Superkarts. She was really impressive. She was in the fight up there for third, fourth, and fifth with Ty Fisher as well. Really impressive to see Naomi rather, do so well. And hopefully we'll see her run the national series this year. Super impressive. Let's look at the hard charger as well in that category. Cole Medeiros on a Cosmic started all the way back in 51st, dead last, up 28 spots to finish 23rd. Listen, Cole didn't get all the experience from racing up front, but David, when you're passing that many people coming through the field, that's a ton of experience for a young driver.
It was certainly a great run for him. DNF didn't complete a lap, so had a little bit better tires than everybody else, but still to be able to get that many spots in a race, very impressive.
So we talked about the fact that Diego Ardiles and Sebastian Garzón kind of going back and forth. On Saturday, we didn't really talk about it, but they were really 1-2 in qualifying, 1-2 in the pre-final. It was either Ardiles or Garzón that were up front, right? Same goes for Sunday qualifying, although Garzón flipped the switch. He ends up winning the pole, David, and then went on to win the pre-final as well.
Yeah, he did. And then the main event came, and as we talked about earlier, they were the first in the rotation of the main events. And I want to say probably just before about the halfway point, that's when the skies opened up and the rain started coming down. Enzo Vidmontien was actually the driver that was out front when the rain started going. Garzón and Ardiles both had some issues early on in the race, so they kind of were trying to fight their ways themselves back towards the front of the field as Vidmontien was out front. When the rain hit, Vidmontien was the quickest driver out there, navigating the wet conditions very well, was able to get away and get the provisional win. Unfortunately for him, a disqualification for tampering with the pushback bumper while on track removed him from the results, excluded him from the results on the day, essentially handing the victory over to Jackson Wolney. So as this was all going on, we're kind of focused on the championship and where Ardiles was and where Garzón was. Well, Garzón, and when the rain started to fall, went off into the wall. He kept going, started making his way back up, but then hit the wall again. And so it was dramatic in that point, in that sense, because Ardiles, if he had the ability to get up there and get the victory, could possibly have taken away the championship. But with the way they finished, Ardiles ended up finishing second overall. Garzón, I think, was in the 7th position after all the penalties and everything that happened. He did have fast lap of the race, so got 10 bonus points for that, but it didn't matter because he still had enough points from the first 3 rounds to consider this his drop race and was able to score the championship by, I didn't put the points there. I'll have to double that. You go through the top 5. I'll tell you the points.
Yeah, so it ended up being Jackson Wolney getting the win with the disqualification for Vidmontien was he was trying to kick out his pushback bumper, which folks just don't do that. Like they're going to find you, especially when Kart Chasers got full coverage. It was literally on the screen. He was trying to kick his bumper forward, and that quickly got picked up by race control. So Jackson Wolney finished second on the racetrack. He ends up winning the race. Ardiles in second. Ty Fisher on the podium in third. Max Christia and Luke Tall rounded out the top 5. Hard charger was Travis Pettit from the deep in the field, started 49th. He went up 36 spots for Travis, up to 13th position. Garzón winning the championship over Ardiles. Wolney ended up in third. And David, what was that championship gap between Garzón and Ardiles?
Yeah, 14 points separated the two drivers after best of 3 championship. Wolney 165 points back in third.
Wow, amazing. All right, another break in the show here, folks. When we get back, we'll do KA100 Master, Mini Swift, and Micro Swift. We'll essentially wrap up the race reports section of this edition of the Debrief. It's a multi-time world champion, and it's a Superkarts USA Super Nationals winner. It is Superkart. And starting in 2023, the Sodi brand has found a new home here in the US. Sodi Racing USA is the new exclusive importer of the Superkart chassis line under the karting distribution banner, led by industry veteran Terry Germanovich. The French manufacturer Superkart is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. The Sodi Racing chassis line offers product in classes from Mini to KZ, all based on years of development and championship seasons around the world. Sodi Racing USA has already begun establishing its dealer network, working with the Karting Collective on the West Coast and recently signing PK Sport to serve as a dealer and the official race team on the East Coast. Visit Sodi-Racing-USA.com to learn more about the Superkart chassis line or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the Sodi Racing USA network today. Superkart, the world leader in the karting industry. Motor mounts. They keep your engine attached to your chassis, right? The answer is, they're much more important than that. Your motor mount is critical in transferring 100% of the power from your engine through to your tires and the racetrack. You need this to get on the podium each and every time you race. Odenthal Racing Products is here for you, providing the best motor mounts on the karting market today, all designed to make sure you're using all the horsepower you pay for. Odenthal Racing Products is a family-owned and operated business with decades of karting experience in providing products with unmatched quality and value for our racing community. The Pro Series mount for 2-cycle engines, which is available in 0, 5, and 8-degree inclinations, provides a rigid structure to help keep vibration to a minimum without adding too much weight to your setup. The 4-cycle Easy Set system is one of the most popular mounts for the Briggs & Stratton 206 power plant. Multiple mounting holes provide the most adjustability depending on your chassis and seat placement. To ensure a tight fit to your chassis, our ORP wedge clamps get the job done, and they feature a number of design updates to provide a lower profile and lighter weight. The clamps are available from 28mm to 32mm in both standard and Euro style sizes. And now, Odenthal has also revolutionized the karting industry with its new Easy GP camera mounting system. Designed to mount anywhere on your chassis with 1 or 2 cameras, the ORP Easy GP camera mount is your solution to capture that onboard winning moment. Head to odenthalracing.com and find a dealer near you. Odenthal Racing Products, proudly made in the USA. Check out any major national karting event, and what's the common thread? Speed Concepts Racing. Up front, in every class, every weekend. The Speed family has been at the forefront of American karting for over 25 years, and Speed Concepts Racing is the sole dedication of Father Mike Speed and his multi-time championship-winning son Alex Speed. This program is all about passion for the sport and a dedication to winning. They know how to get it done. If you're a senior driver ready to put yourself amongst the best in the country, Speed Concepts Racing is the program for you. We can win the big races. You just need to be in the seat. The Speeds program has delivered time over time in the junior classes as well, helping to elevate a long list of young drivers from mid-pack to potential race winners. Speed Concepts Racing has the perfect equation of coaching, driver development, and technical knowledge to elevate your program. Arrive and drive opportunities are available for the remainder of the 2023 season, and we're locking in seats for 2024 as well. If you're ready to take your career to the next level, contact Speed Concepts Racing through email at speedconceptsracing@gmail.com. Welcome back, folks. It's time to wrap up the race report of this edition of the Debrief. Again, the race report today brought to you by Parolin USA. We are discussing the Superkarts USA Winter Series finale weekend from Homestead, Florida. Let's go into KA 100 Master presented by Alessandro's Racing. And the headline is Garrido repeats as champion.
Yeah, Garrido was a walk-up entry. We didn't see him on the pre-entry list when we talked about this category in the Outlap podcast. So good to see the returning champion or the defending champion back to stake his claim. and set the fast time in qualifying on Saturday with 50.719. Excuse me. Sorry about that.
Right.
And so, but it was Charlie Fonseca, or Carlos, as we all known him from the past, who was the driver to beat essentially on Saturday. Went up and won the pre-final, and in the main event, it was him and Mario Barrios up front, going back and forth. And Fonseca just had a little bit more than Barrios, the former SCUSA Pro Tour champion, and Fonseca took the victory by just under half a second.
Yeah, finishing in third spot and kind of taking control of the championship as well was Miguel Mir. He was obviously in a very good position because Michel Garrido, we talked about being on pole, he was another driver in the championship battle, but he only came in fourth place in points from January. So Mir had the kind of position he needed to be in. He was third, gave himself a little breathing room. Garrido in the fourth spot, as we said. Grace Hamerd back for RPG on the Cosmic. She finished fifth. Luis Quiones, your hard charger, but then again started 11th up to 8th. So not a lot of movement in a 12 kart field. This is where things got really interesting because Miguel Mir, David, essentially coming into Sunday, all he needs is a top 3 finish probably, and he's going to lock this thing down, right? So out of the gate, Mario Barrios, fastest driver, right, at 50.850. He goes to win the pre-final as well. And then remember, this is when they actually came on when the track was wet, then drying. In fact, 5 of the 12 or 6, 5 or 6 of the 12, I think 5 of the 12 went with wets. Well, the track had dried up pretty significantly since the checkered flag and the green flag of the Masters guys. So once they rolled out, dries were the way to go. The wet guys really didn't even finish. Everybody else ended up pulling off. That's where things got interesting because Miguel Mir was comfortable early, but it didn't end up going that way for him.
No, he lasted just one lap before a broken brake rotor ended his race and essentially ending his chance at a title. Because again, depending on where he finished and where Garrido finished, the championship was going to come down to those two drivers. Unfortunately for Mir, he had to watch from the sidelines with a broken brake rotor, again, ending his race. And as you said, a number of drivers were on the rain tires. So as the track began drying, they were pulled off the racetrack. So really there was only 4 drivers on the racetrack when the race was completed towards the end of after 17 minutes and 1 lap. They did get in 20 laps of racing. And up front, it was Barrios leading until Garrido had enough of them, essentially got by him and then just walked away. It just was like something clicked, and the way the track had dried out just enough was perfect for Garrido's setup. Barrios just struggled and wasn't able to keep pace. I mean, you look at it, their fast lap of the race, Garrido's was on lap 18, Barrios was on 19. We're talking about 0.7 of a second quicker.
Yeah,
it's just something. So something just didn't click with Barrios' setup. Maybe because it was a little damp with a little bit more grip, or I don't know what it was, but it just wasn't working. And Garrido had the right setup, fast lap of the race, goes on to take the victory, and essentially puts him into the championship for a second straight year.
So, David, what I thought was interesting, and this I kind of picked this up a little bit from the coverage, from Kart Chaser coverage when I was kind of watching it. Obviously, when you're in a transition like this and you're kind of bringing your kart up, how much can you get done? If you're in the wet, you have certain setup. It appeared to me like potentially Barrios' front was still wide. When you're in a wet setup, you widen the front, narrow the rear.
Yeah,
it looks like his was still pretty wide. Where I feel like Garrido's, they maybe had adjusted the front a little bit. So they narrowed it up a little bit in the front to where it would be more of a dry setup. I want to say that may have played a role. I'm wondering just whether or not maybe Barrios had just kind of chewed the front tires up a little more, even though we know that obviously out there in the dries, just because he had it so wide, may have just put a lot of those tires. That's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, you could, because again, there's different ways of setting up for changing conditions like that. You could have a dry setup with rain tires already mounted, and then just swap out and put the dry ones on. Or you could have a full wet setup on and then, oh man, we need to go to dry tires because it's drying, and then not have the ability to change the geometry of a rain setup for the dry tires. So yeah, there's a lot of that that could have possibly happened, because again, his fast lap was slower than Fonseca, who ended up finishing in third. He was trailing and gradually catching up to these two drivers, but eventually ran out of time. So, interesting way to end the year for the K100 Master. Again, Garrido with the championship, Mir finishing second in the standings, backed by 55 points, while Jesus Portillo in the third spot for the championship.
Yeah, indeed. Garrido, Barrios, Fonseca, Portillo, and Gerstner. Tom Gerstner, 67 years young, top 5 drivers in the class. Luis Quiones actually ended up finishing P4 on the racetrack, but was DQ'd in tech. So both Portillo and Gerstner did not get to the checkered flag, and indeed ended up finishing 4th and 5th. As we said, a number of drivers waved off as they were significantly slower on the wet tires in the dry conditions. We'll go down to Mini Swift, presented by Trinity Karting Group, and here's the headline. 4 different winners over 4 rounds. Yeah, not the only class to go 4 winners.
No, not the only class to go 4 winners. So that was really cool to see, exciting to kind of watch. And we knew that was going to kind of be the headline going into this weekend with Rocco Simoni and Alessandro Truchot not returning after winning the 2 races in January. They went over to Europe and raced there. So we knew we were going to have some new faces at the front of the field. Benji Fernandez, he was actually towards the front of the field last month, but put his name on the contenders list early with fast time and qualifying. Ended up being Marco Samet. I know I'm trying to say it like it's spelled. Who actually drove up and won the pre-final in a pretty heated battle. That featured probably about 5 drivers for this race win. You get into the main event, however, again, multiple drivers exchanging position here and there. Eventually it ended up being Troy Ferguson who came through. He started back in the 9th spot, but worked his way forward one by one, eventually got his way up into the lead. And once there, was able to lead his way to the checkered flag for his first win of the season.
Yeah, a lot of great guys in the battle there. Obviously, Ferguson getting the win. Marco Samet, as we said, was right in there. Royce Vega was up there with the 2 Bennett guys. Asham Woon on the Super Tune Parolin. Julian Rivera there as well for RPG on the Cosmic. A lot of good racing, of course, as we know. We always get this all the time in this Mini Swift class, and they really put on a tremendous show for us. And even to give a little extra for Ferguson, not only, as David mentioned, he started deeper in the field, also the hard charger as well in that class, coming from 9th for the race win. Now, mentioning that Vega was quick as well. He ends up, David, starting off Sunday in qualifying, put it on the pole with a 52.776.
Yeah, a great lap for him. And then came back in the pre-final. Again, another great battle featuring probably 8 different drivers this time around, going back and forth. Ended up being Samet with the race win once again in the pre-final. So 2 pre-final wins for the Brandon Jarzakrak Racing driver on the LN racing cart. This race, however, was in wet conditions. The KA Junior got a shower, and so did the Mini Swift, because I was out there in the wet getting wet, in the rain getting wet. So this one, it was Fernandez that essentially found his way to the front, very similar to what we saw Ferguson do the day before. Came up from 7th on the grid. I believe, on the grid, and then just slowly kind of found his way, got himself into the top 3. And then I want to say it was Vega that was out front leading the way. Eventually got around Royce for the top position. And then from there, drove away to a 2.3 second margin of victory. Even though Vega did put in the fast lap of the race early on when the rain wasn't too heavy, it was Fernandez picking up the victory.
Yeah, Ashton Moon ended up in 3rd. Ferguson backs up his win with a 4th on Sunday, and then Josh Bergman on the Sodi cart finishing up the top 5. Colton Schniegenberg on the Gallard was the hard charger, started 15th. He was able to navigate the wet conditions to work his way up to 6th. And then, David, when it was all said and done, obviously we talked about the fact that Truchot and Simoni weren't there, the drivers that won in January. They were over at the WSK race in competition. Benja Fernandez kind of took over the lead in the points as he was 3rd coming in, but didn't have the best run, as we know, on Saturday. And then it ended up being a pretty close battle. Royce Vega with the championship over Marco Samet by 89 points. Ferguson back by just 94. So 94 points separating the top 3 drivers in the championship chase.
Yeah, the DNF on Saturday in the main event after one lap certainly hurt him in the championship race. But Royce Vega took advantage of it, even though he didn't pick up the victory. Very similar to what we saw last year. I don't think Alessandro Truchot won at all last year. Might have got that one victory after Palacio was disqualified, but still a great start to the year for Royce Vega, who we've seen win a number of times last year.
Let's go to Micro Swift now, brought to you by Team U-Race. We'll cap off this edition of the Race Report part of the Debrief podcast. And here is the headline: O'Gara and Burgess split as former claims championship. What a great race we had all weekend long with the Micro Swift drivers.
Yeah, once again, Micro Swift seems to be the race to watch. You know, they're not the quickest guys, but a lot of respect from one another. And again, great, battling back and forth, passing in this spot, passing in that spot. And that's something we saw throughout the weekend for this category. I thought I wrote his name, but I didn't. Where is his name? Godshock. Godshock. It's just a new name. Again, that's something we talked about in the Outlap podcast, is a lot of new names. So Godshock.
And listen, we'll give David a little break here. I announced the name all weekend long, so I practiced it all weekend long, David. This is the first time you've really had to verbalize his name other than writing it all weekend long.
I can tell you how to spell it.
Exactly right. Oh my God. So yes, Godshock. Out of the gate, super impressive, right? It was fun to watch him really get at it.
It was a shock. No, I was like, who? Wait, I thought something was wrong because he was actually in the first group for qualifying, and
you
was
were
able
Godshocked.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Sorry about that.
Yes. So shocked by that. Shocked everybody. A 52.893 put him on top of the time sheets for that. But it was Orioli.
Yeah, there you go. Orioli.
That won the pre-final. Driver we saw kind of step up in the opening weekend. Nearly got his first win last month until that red flag took that away and gave it back to Zane Burgess. But it was he who was leading a majority of the final after winning the pre-final, but a little bit of contact during racing dropped him back down a little bit, allowed Godshock and Danny O'Gara to kind of battle it out until the end. And then I'm trying to remember how this played out, because I want to say O'Gara got him a lap or two before the finish.
Yeah, the way I kind of characterized it was, Danny O'Gara and Santiago Orioli for MPG Motorsports are the two teammates on the Kart Republic, and they were kind of working together, right, with the other guys that were in the middle of the fight, right, with Godshock being right in there. And to me, it was just there was a lot of contact. There was guys were kind of going back and forth. They were making some moves. O'Gara just kind of, the way I laid it was, he just stayed out of the chaos.
That's right.
Everything seemed to happen around now Danny, right? He was in the right place. He would make a really good move to not be part of something, good reaction time. And he kind of was able to work his way to the front, just staying out of all the contact that was happening around.
I remember that now because I took the photo. Godshock made a move into the first hairpin and kind of caught Orioli off guard. And the two kind of made contact as they were on the exit, as Godshock thought he had the corner. So went hit to the exit. Well, Orioli was already there, and so they made contact. So Santiago went off the racetrack.
He went well off,
and that I think was a penalty for where. Yes, so O'Gara essentially took advantage of that, as you said, was there in the right place at the right time, took over the lead and held off
Godshock
to the line for the victory. Who for his first Winter Series victory. Godshock was second, but was penalized for that contact. So that essentially took him from the second spot to sixth in the final order, moving Lawrence Perriman up into the second spot, Jake Melanalo into third, Orioli into fourth, and then Easton Kubinski into the fifth spot.
Yeah, exactly that. Lawrence was kind of right back there in the LN cart, as was Manaleo was right there. Orioli, although he went all the way off the racetrack, was able to come back on. And I think he got a couple spots before it was all said and done. But indeed, Perriman, Manaleo, Orioli, and Kubinski were the top five. Ajax Capitan Garduna on the Cosmic was the hard charger, starting 38th up into the top 20. And again, just great racing, as we said. Now, and then we go into Sunday. We'll talk about it, but remember, when we get to the race, again, they were, that it was the race. It was still wet before the dry for KA100 Master. So a big challenge for the drivers in Micro Swift. Although Leo Simoni, David, out of the hole, impressive, putting the cart on the pole as a rookie driver in the category.
Yeah, and he was one of those drivers that was in the mix on Saturday till I think it might have been contact that took him out of the race too, or he made contact with the wall going through the double rights there, leading onto the main straight. So Simoni was quick on Saturday and certainly showed it on Sunday with fast time and qualifying, but Orly only pulled through to get the pre-final win. And as you said, drying racetrack after KA100 Senior had run. So all the drivers were on wet tires for the race, but no more rain was falling down. So that was kind of the good thing for them. They were able to kind of navigate the racetrack very well. But the story was Zane Burgess, the double winner from January, who started the pre-final last, changed engines after qualifying. Just something wasn't going right for him. So they made an engine change. Well, he went from 36 to 8th in the pre-final alone. So putting him in the top 10 to start the main event. And then basically it was just him picking off a driver after driver after driver. Easton Kabinski was a driver that was out front, pretty much leading the majority of the race. And then once Burgess got up to him, was able to get by him, took over the lead. And then from there only led the last 2 laps, but pulled away to a 1.2 second advantage at the line. Fast lap of the race by 8/10, 7/10.
Wow.
Quick. Just really fast lap times for Zane Burgess on the wet tires for the Sodi kart. So 3 victories for Zane Burgess out of the 4 rounds, giving him the championship as well.
Yeah, another fast driver coming out of Jamaica, right? We've seen a couple of them before, so good to have Zane Burgess there. Easton Kabinski, as David said, led for a majority of the time, ended up finishing in second. Danny O'Gara, another podium finish after the win on Saturday. Daniel Ramirez up to 4th, and Santiago Orioli, O'Gara's teammate, ends up finishing 5th on Sunday. Enough for him to hold on to the second place in points, but Burgess, with those 3 wins, scores the championship by 113 points. O'Gara back there in 3rd, so all told, a really good way to start off the season in Micro Swift. And as David and I talked about in our Outlap podcast, a lot of brand new names. We always get this in the micro category, the young kids coming up, but there's a lot of young kids, a lot of 7 and 8 year olds in the category. So we're going to see these names for the next couple of years, but they are new for 2024. So get ready, folks. There's a lot of really good, talented young drivers we're going to be talking about for the next number of years in the cadet category through micro into mini, before they even get to junior, because they've got at least 5 or 6 years or 7 years before they get there. Final break, folks. When we get back, we will look at the wrap up. We'll talk about the Constructors Championship, and we'll have a look at the EKN Trackside Live race calendar. There's a new hot button name in American safety equipment, Stilo USA. Every product with Stilo is focused on safety, comfort, and function. Stilo USA is happy to provide you with the proper safety apparel to keep you protected on the track, and their karting lineup is second to none. The ST5 KRT karting helmet is available for $599. Manufactured using a lightweight and extremely strong composite material, the KRT provides an excellent fit and comfort level due to its dual density interior foam lining, and it's equipped with a symmetrical visor that offers excellent vision and an effortless central visor locking system. The ST5 CMR standard was developed jointly by the FIA Institute and Snell Memorial Foundation to ensure safer and lighter weight helmets for the younger karters. Drivers rave about the superior comfort levels, lightweight construction, and the unparalleled field of vision. The perfect youth helmet is available for $549. Stilo didn't stop with their helmets either. The newly developed Carbon Curva Rib Protector is unlike any on the market, with its form-fitting solution to offer superior protection. Head to StiloHelmets.com to review these and many more products to keep you safe on the track. Stilo. Any competition, one helmet. Made in the USA. It's not just a statement, it's the mission at Factory Karts of America. Led by four-time Supernats champion Billy Musgrave, Factory Karts manufactures their frames completely in-house at their Riverside, California facility. Built and designed from the ground up specifically for the American karting market, Factory Karts brings new innovations and solutions that are long overdue. Factory Karts bring together the highest quality materials to produce a high-performance, long-lasting kart that has been designed and perfected from 3 years of development, with a focus for a big push across North America in 2023. No other karting manufacturer stands behind its product like Factory Karts does, providing a 2-year warranty on all their frames. Do you remember when American made meant innovative, original, stronger, faster, and just plain better? Well, American made is back. Contact Factory Karts today to join the American made movement. Learn more by visiting factorykarts.com or email Billy anytime at info@factorykarts.com. A leading name in high-performance engines is D2 Motors. Owned and operated by karting champion Danilo Ramalho, D2 Motors can power you to the top of the podium. D2 Motors has been servicing karters in North America since 2019 and is opening its doors to teams and drivers across the national and local racing circuits. D2 Motors is offering access to superior engine technology designed to elevate performance on the track. There is no engine platform that D2 Motors has not excelled at. They are a leading Rotax service center, along with developing championship-winning power for the IAME and ROC brands. If you are seeking a competitive edge and reliability, partner with D2 Motors today. Call 954-895-6334 or visit D2 Motors Official on social media. D2 Motors, come and join the power with us. All right, we are back. Time to wrap things up for this edition of the Debrief, episode number 125. Superkarts USA Winter Series finale from AMR Homestead Miami Motorplex, presented by MG Tires. Rob Howden alongside David Cole. DC, let's wrap things up here right now. The bottom line is there was some heated battles throughout the weekend. All the categories, essentially we just rolled through the race report. And each class, we were talking about these head-to-head scraps. And a lot of times it was two drivers. Other times it was packs of 10. So it just was some really good racing all told.
It was really good racing. And again, you're going to have contact. That's something we got to realize. There's going to be contact in racing. People are going for the same piece of rail estate. That's what happens. We just don't want the obvious and blatant takeouts. That's what we're trying to keep away. But it was great racing, good racing. I think I said it before and I'll say it again. The clockwise direction is the better direction for this racetrack. I don't know what it is. I just think it produces better racing, gives you the two hairpins towards the end of the lap rather than in the middle. And then again, you got the combination of the left, right going in onto the main straight to kind of give you another last chance at trying to get a pass or two leading to the finish line. So again,
and it's not the long straightaway drag race of the line.
Right. Yeah. We have enough of those racetracks. We always go to Newcastle. We don't need it.
So one of the things also on the weekend, which is funny, is listen, it's Homestead, right? We don't talk about it a lot. We're less than a couple of miles away from the Atlantic Ocean, from where the racetrack is. You're at sea level, and where you are across from the Gulf side to the coast side, the Atlantic side, you're going to get it rains almost every day in Homestead, for a little bit, for a half an hour. And if David Cole's there, it's definitely going to rain. But yeah, there always seems to be a little cell that comes across, dumps on us. And you go from, hey, we're dry, now we're racing in the wet, and then sooner or later it dries up, and there's a class that goes from, are you running the wets, or do you need to roll the dice in the dries, right? I think it's kind of fun, but it is what it is for Homestead.
And this time it came from the south. Normally it comes from the west, hits us that way, over the Keys, and then comes up and gets us. But it came from the south, like directly south. So all that, all the water in the Caribbean. Luckily, it was warm rain. It wasn't cold rain, so that was nice.
True.
But it always rains in Homestead. That's just I don't know how you guys avoided it last year. I really don't.
Well, let's put it this way. Superkarts USA has got their 2024 season underway, David. Their first champions decided and some deserving champions, and we'll see whether or not that momentum rolls through, right? For DeTulio, a couple of senior championships, big for him. Morgado steals a championship from Formal. You look at the juniors and you see Diego Ardiles from RPG was in the fight for 2 championships. He ends up getting 1. Sebastian Garzon gets a championship, right? The kids put on a good show. Royce Vega stepping to the forefront as we would expect with a lot of the other drivers, that we know. And then of course a new look at potentially Zane Burgess coming out of the gate strongly. Championships were decided, and to me, it's always an opportunity to see who we're going to be talking about for a majority of the new season.
Yeah, and it's very rare to see a driver double up. We've seen it done before, though, in the junior categories and a couple times in the senior. But moving forward, we're not going to see some of these guys in KA senior. DeTulio is going to be X30 only. Donovan Bonilla is going to probably be X30 only. So. We'll see some different names kind of battling for championship probably on the Pro Tour once we get to the Winter Nationals. So just remember that. Superkarts USA not allowing drivers to do both KA Senior and X30 Senior.
Yeah, David, you speak about doubling up at the Winter Series. Let's just say that one of the drivers who has in the past doubled up the Whittle Series will be racing Formula 2 this year. Right.
And could be somewhere else. And when Mr. Lewis Hamilton moves away. Yeah.
We're talking about Kimi Antonelli, obviously, folks, who came over with Kart Republic and kind of swept the action over here. And he's running F2 this year. Could be an F1 in a couple of years. So very exciting for sure. Speaking of F1, speaking of Constructors Championships, David, let's just look at our own Constructors Championship. It's a long list. Of brands. I don't know if we've had this many brands win. Now, granted, 9 categories all total, 1 with 1 class, but 10 different brands scoring wins on the weekend.
Yeah, great to see the diversity of the different chassis models, brands winning on the weekend. Kart Republic actually led the way with 4. When you get Alessandro DeTulio winning there, and you got Carr and others as well. So good weekend for them. Cosmic picking up 3 of their own. Winning 2 races on the weekend was Burrell Art, Tony Kart, and Magic Kart with Scott Skitchy Barnes. And then Red Speed, EOS, Alonso Kart, Bennick, and Sodi Kart all picking up 1.
Yeah, fantastic. Good lineup, as we said, a packed paddock with a bunch of different brands, different teams. And as we know, Kart Republic, of course, with a couple of different teams, Inter MS, Trinity, there's a number of teams that are running that Kart Republic chassis. So again, they're looking for more success here in 2024. Let's cap things off, folks, with the EKN Trackside Live race calendar. We'll look to see where David and I are going to be through the next couple of months, a couple of weeks. This edition of the calendar brought to you by CRG Nordam. CRG is one of the most iconic brands in karting, and we're primed and ready with new material and a never-ending focus on winning. CRG Nordam is the North American distributor for all CRG products. Based outside Houston, Texas, CRG Nordam supports CRG dealers across the continent, reaching every corner of North America. Check out the CRG KT5 for tag and shifter racing, the Black Mirror for cadet competition, and the FS4 for Briggs. Longtime CRG drivers will be happy to know that the CRG Road Rebel, the standard in quality and performance, is still available. For more information on the CRG product line, head to www.kartcrg.com. And to inquire about a North American dealer near you, please email us at info@kartcrg-nordam.com. All right, David, we got a couple of weekends off, which is kind of nice to a certain extent that we can kind of press the reset button and get back at it. You'll be going back to back. I, on the other hand, will not. I will be, but not with karting. March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, rounds number 3 and 4 of the Challenge of the Americas. It's T2. We're back to Tucson and the Musselman Honda circuit on the first weekend of March.
Yeah, excited to go back into the normal direction at that racetrack where, we tried it. I don't think I like the clockwise direction there. I love the counterclockwise. No, I don't dislike it, but I prefer the counterclockwise.
Yeah.
Excited to go back rounds 3 and 4 of the challenge, back to the challenge family, get back to In-N-Out, get back to some great Mexican food, maybe some pizza as well.
Yeah, but, you know what? A lot of the West Coast people, right? The great thing, there's a lot of great racing, of course, as we know. A lot of drivers on the East Coast right now. Many are coming in, but there's also a lot of people who are club and regional racers, even national racers on the West Coast that don't want to travel, right? They want to make sure they're home in time for school. The teams that don't want to drive 3,000 miles. There's a lot of great teams and families and drivers involved in the Challenge of the Americas. So it's the West Coast program.
It is. Yeah, exactly that. And hopefully I won't bring the rain. So.
I don't think so. I can't see us going back to back on weekends in Tucson with the rain. But David, you're the Rainmeister. We'll see.
It's my 20th year. I'm making history, baby.
It is your 20th year with ekartingnews.com. We'll touch more on that as we start the season. Speaking of that, you're back to back at the karting events. I go from Tucson to the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg to start the USF Pro Championships. But in the same weekend, David, you're at the Superkarts USA Winter Nationals. The Pro Tour getting underway March 8th, 9th, and 10th. Orlando Kart Center. We're literally like 2 hours apart. You're right. I'll be in St. Pete. You'll be in Orlando. But get ready to start the Pro Tour Winter Nationals. We'll see which drivers from the Winter Series can step up and start their seasons off, the national season off on a high note.
Yeah, excited to get back to Orlando. That's a tight confines of Orlando Kart Center. I think that's what we kind of have to tagline it, because that's a tight racetrack.
It is.
Not a lot of room for error there. And
lots of passing opportunities, though.
A lot. So again, it provides a lot of passing opportunities. Yeah. That's the great thing about the tight confines. Again, a lot of different back and forth situations around that circuit. And again, good viewing area, so everybody can see the entire racetrack on the elevated catwalks that they have there. So a lot of pluses about that facility. Should be warm weather. I'm not going to predict whether rain will hit or not, because it's Florida. So I'm going to stay away from that. Unfortunately, we'll be like 2 hours apart. You'll be in St. Pete and I'll be there. So it'll be weird to be that close, but yet so far.
No kidding, man. No kidding. Well, we'll figure it out. All right. Well, folks, that wraps up this edition of the Debrief. Again, episode number 125. And thank you for tuning in. The Superkarts USA Winter Series wrapped up for 2024. And again, it is essentially spring training. That's the concept, is to get the drivers who run Superkarts USA, get the teams, get them all out at the racetrack. They haven't been racing SCUSA events since the Supernats, which is, you're looking at, essentially almost 2 months through the end of November and December. So they were able to get back at it in January. They wrap things up in February. Everybody's ready to go. So many drivers making moves up to different categories. That's one of the big things. Before you jump into the national scene, you get some time to race in that new category. And I think that'll help a lot of the drivers be more prepared when the Pro Tour gets rolling on March 8th to 10th at Orlando with the Winter Nationals. That capped things off for this edition. As I said, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. All the sponsors, the commercials that you heard throughout this podcast, those are the people that make e-karting news happen. Without our EKN partners, we wouldn't be around. So thank you so much to them. And thank you so much for tuning in, folks. We do appreciate it. Big thank you for Superkarts USA for working with us as you have for, this series, the Pro Tour, the Winter Series, since the start of both. And of course, for myself, since back in the late 90s. Always a pleasure to work with everybody from Superkarts USA. Thanks again, folks, for tuning in to this edition of the podcast. On behalf of David Cole, my name is Rob Howden. Bye for now.